This is 5-time ROH World Tag Team Champion, the Zombie Princess Jimmy Jacobs, and I want you to listen to the source of all things Ring of Honor, the Honor Society, only on the Turnbuckle Tavern. And hey, I'm a princess. I always get what I want.
Welcome to the 10th episode of the Honor Society, covering all things Ring of Honor. As always, I'm Stephen Acefield, the ace of the Turnbuckle Tavern, and I'm joined right now by one of my glorious hosts. The other will be joining me shortly. That's so filled with honor. What's up, Freemz?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well, man. We're here to talk all about Ring of Honor. We got some big news that just dropped like an hour ago, so this is awesome that we're here to break it down for you guys and obviously fill up some time and talk about that, but we have a lot of other things we had planned prior to this big announcement. So, Freemz, give me a little bit of what's going on your end quick before I'll do some shilling quick just so we can get into the news. We got twitch.tv/Freemz. What's going on in the stream tonight?
I think we'll be doing some React content tonight, and I may have some few people stopping by to chat. Like I said, leftist politics, if you're into that, or politics in general and want to hear a different perspective, stop by and hang out with us. Also, it's comedy based too, so a lot of humor there.
Hell yeah. Make sure you guys go to twitch.tv/Freemz following Honor Society. Go down there and check them out. Great content. Leave them a tip. Tip your bartenders. Support the show. So just quickly, I want to just show you guys the graphic quick. Go to the turnbuckletavern.com on all these platforms. That's all the shilling I'm going to do tonight. But we are available on all these platforms. Buy a tee on either Teesprings or Pro Wrestling Tees. You guys can also go to Instagram, support us there. We're all over the place. We're giving you guys content covering all of the wrestling world, so make sure you guys check that out. But support the show. Let's get right into the scoop, dude, because I want to get right into the news we want to talk about. All right, this is the segment we'll be talking about news of the week, and lucky for us, Tony Khan just dropped probably the biggest news we've got in Ring of Honor aside from the logo change that we had probably about a few weeks ago. And Ring of Honor is expected to return to pay-per-view in July, and this is the old logo here, Death Before Dishonor, one of Ring of Honor's premier events, and according to a report from Fightful Select, AEW Talent have been told that Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor is being planned for the weekend of July 23rd, 2022, and the event is expected to take place in Lowell, Massachusetts, so right outside Boston. We have an arena, we have a date, we have something to look forward to, Freemz. What are your initial thoughts? I mean, Death Before Dishonor, this has been an event that's been going on in Ring of Honor for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's like one of their premier pay-per-views. I mean, it's one of the more iconic ones. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'd be more excited if we had a weekly show, and hell, by then we might. Who knows? It's hard to say. But even without that, we know we're going to get an FTR match.
Oh, yeah.
We know we're going to get a Wheeler Yuta match. We know we're going to get Jonathan Gresham match.
Yep.
Mercedes Martinez. So we're going to get good matches regardless. Like, it's going to be a good event. I would like to see... I would hope that we're closer at least to knowing about a TV deal by then. And if that's the case, I would like to see maybe some of the belts moved to people who are definitely going to be on Ring of Honor. So we can get an idea of that. But I'm excited regardless.
Yeah, it's a nice light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like we've been coming on here for 10 weeks now, believe it or not. Time flies, and I love talking about the history of Ring of Honor. But I really am going to be excited for when we have a weekly television product, as you alluded to talk about. But now that we have a pay-per-view in the distance, we're going to see some of that build, not only on AEW Dynamite, potentially on Rampage, maybe on AEW Dark, maybe some stuff all over the place on social media. But we're going to get announcements for matches because they have to have a build for a pay-per-view that is almost 2 months away at this point, just a little bit under that. But as you mentioned, dude, Death Before Dishonor is one of those premier events that the only time that they didn't have an event that was Death Before Dishonor was 2020 due to the pandemic. Yeah. So we had 2003 is a long time ago. And the first one that took place was main evented by Samoa Joe and Paul London for the ROH World Championship. Took place in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And all the way through, we missed 2020, as I mentioned before. But we had one in 2021, not too long ago, main evented by Bandito, Brody King, Demonic Flamita versus EC3 for the ROH World Championship. And so much in between. This is the event I feel like that Tony Khan had to latch himself to, because this is sort of Ring of Honor's, I would say, their biggest event always, because Supercard of Honor always feels like a very, very, very big event, especially on WrestleMania weekend. This is like a close second, in my opinion.
Yeah. You know what I'm curious? Do you think we'll see the Briscoes there?
Yeah, we're going to get into the Briscoes a little bit during the news. I would say you kind of have to. The way Tony Khan left it open-ended and saying they are a big part of what ROH will be about, they kind of have to be there, right?
Yeah. You know, it's funny, too. A lot of the matches that we've picked have been on Death Before Dishonor, now that I'm, thinking about it. Because you had the Cage of Death match that Sneed picked. That was a Death Before Dishonor match. I think one of us had previously said Austin Aries, CM Punk.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Death Before Dishonor.
Yep.
Yeah, so...
yeah, that was all the way back in 2005, and we'll definitely get into that because our honorable mentions a special edition this week talking about the beginning of Summer Punk, the first ever. But this event sort of shifted in the season it was presented in, originally in July. So, Tony Khan put his finger on the pulse. We had it in September in the mid-2000s, sometimes in August. But July feels like where it started. And I know Tony Khan probably was like, you know what? I want to keep in tradition of Ring of Honor. I want to continue what they created in 2003 with that first ever pay-per-view and keep it in the same spirit. I want to see them go all off for this and make sure it is introducing new fans to Ring of Honor, but also and getting the older fans to come back and consuming the product, because lost in translation is a little bit of the guys watching AEW may not enjoy AEW, but they enjoy Ring of Honor. So you have to kind of appease those guys as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So that is a huge piece of news. So as I mentioned before, it has run every single year. This is something we can at least bookmark and look forward to. As Freemz, you mentioned, we have to build towards a world title match. We have to build towards a women's championship match, FTR eventually, whether they're defending their tag titles against Great O'Con and Jeff Cobb at this event or at Forbidden Door. We're not sure. But this is a really nice piece of information that we can grasp onto and start to really look forward to an ROH presentation. I feel like Supercard of Honor had so much momentum, and I think at this point it kind of got halted. We see a little bit of Ring of Honor starting stopping on AEW television, but seeing them and have this July pay-per-view, not to mention as well, AEW is running a lot of different events in there. We got the announcement for Battle of the Belts again. We got also the new Blood and Guts. We also got Forbidden Door, fresh off of Double or Nothing. And then following the next month, they're going to have the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which is essentially AEW as well. So a lot of wrestling to look forward to.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm excited about that. I'm sure we're going to be mentioning it more on the show. Death Before Dishonor, like I mentioned, if you guys are missing what I said, July 23rd, 2022, Lowell, Massachusetts. We'll let you know when tickets go on sale. I'll put it on my social media. I'm going to see if I can get out there and see the show. I mean, it's
Lowell, Mass isn't too far from you. I would like to get out there for it.
Yeah,
it's far away. We'll see, but
we shall see. It is sort of far. It is a drive. We'll see what tickets look like, what the card looks like. But Tony Khan's going to put his full effort towards making this good, because this is kind of a first impression. I know Supercard of Honor was a first impression for the newer fan, but this is the first time under the Tony umbrella that he chose the date. He chose the weekend. He chose when to present it. He kind of inherited Supercard of Honor and made the best of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure, keep up with us weekly, and we'll be talking about the card as it updates every week.
Yep, and just like Supercard of Honor, we'll present a preview show. We'll do all of that, and I know that show probably did the best out of all the Honor Society shows we've done, and rightfully so. People were really excited for that weekend. There was a lot of buzz in the wrestling world with WrestleMania and all that, so hoping this weekend in July gives people something to look forward to in between what AEW is doing at Forbidden Door, and also if you're a WWE guy, SummerSlam as well. So it fills the void in July a little bit. We have Money in the Bank too, but who cares about that, I guess, right? So we also have in the news, and again, I feel like we talk about this every week, the ROH Women's Champion, Mercedes Martinez, is continuing to defend her championship, and this time she did it in Vegas. It was on tape delay, but this was against Viva Van. So she took Van to the mat early and began transitioning between different holds. This was a pretty back and forth match for Mercedes Martinez, and they're giving her a lot of rep, a lot of shine on YouTube. And I know people like make the joke of straight to YouTube for the new talent, but she's doing a lot of work in this spot, and she's getting better by the week. And I love to see it. She won with the Brass City Sleeper, made Van submit. She's been on a roll for the last 2 months, and I think they're putting a lot behind her. She may be the premier athlete in that women's division for Ring of Honor.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, like as far as like she's representing Ring of Honor more than anyone else right now. Because I mean, when Samoa Joe's on AEW, he's doing AEW stuff. Whenever, whether it be the Owen Classic or whatever, whenever Gresham, he's kind of healing right now. FTR is being FTR. So as far as like representing the ROH brand, no one's doing more than what she is. Like she's going on AEW shows defending her Ring of Honor title.
100%. And she's going out there and looking good doing it. And we talk about all the time with limited schedules with guys. It's a good thing to heal your body up, but it's also a bad thing you're not getting the reps and becoming, I guess, more adapt to being in the ring, working with similar opponents. And I know Viva Van is not someone you're going to be working with weekly, but being in front of an AEW audience, whether it be on Dark or Elevation, it's given Mercedes Martinez a nice platform to be performing weekly, because you don't want someone collecting dust on the shelf a little bit, especially if she's going to be someone you're relying on in Ring of Honor. I think she needs to have the reps, and whether it's on Elevation or Dark, I need her to be in the ring weekly to get better and make sure she's ready when Ring of Honor gets off the ground.
Yeah.
So the other piece here, and this was pretty big news. It got lost in the shuffle with everything that happened at Double or Nothing. We had Roosh making his AEW debut in a tape segment at Double or Nothing. So right now, AAA star and former ROH World Champion Roosh was in a segment with Andrade. So he looks like he's Andrade's new business partner in a promo video shot that they had in a conference room. Andrade made it clear he's tired of the Andrade family office and he wanted a new ally. As we know, the Los Ingobernables pose that he did with Andrade makes it clear that maybe they're going to go back to a little bit of what they did back in New Japan or CMLL. So Roosh wrestled for CMLL back in 2009 and 2019. He appeared in the United States for MLW. So he's been all over the place. We talked about former ROH World Champion, which is why we're putting him here in the news here. He's the one that lost the title to Bandito. What is your take on Roosh?
I like Roosh. Whenever you guys were first talking about him and you were correcting people like, no, it's not Rush, it's Roosh. So I was confused because when I think of Ring of Honor Rush, I think of Leo Rush.
Right.
So I thought you guys initially were talking about Leo Rush until Roosh debuted on AEW. I don't know much about the guy, but I've gone back and watched him because he was in that era where I quit watching AEW. Or not
right.
AEW, well, AEW. I was wrestling in general. He's impressive.
Oh, yeah.
I really like him.
He's one of those guys that, similar to Bandito, doesn't really get the credit he deserves for the style he works, for the size he is.
Right.
And he's one of those guys that can put a good match on with anybody. If you're into Lucha Libre, if you're into the hard style matches that they do in Japan, he can work any of those styles. And I'm hoping too, I mean, this is not really a Ring of Honor thing, but maybe it is kind of that Andrade can get off of the snide he's been on with this whole AFO crap. So he joined back in 2021. We haven't seen Andrade really do anything. 6 years in NXT, was in WWE for a minute. I think Andrade could be better off being with Roosh in Ring of Honor. I think Roosh he's going to be in Ring of Honor. I think he's tagged for that, but Andrade would be a nice addition to the Ring of Honor edition that he doesn't have any preconceived thing that he's been doing AEW. You might as well just go over and do the Los Ingobernables thing over in Ring of Honor. It'd be awesome.
I'd be cool with it. I'm for it. I need to get back on my Mexican wrestling grind because I've neglected it a lot since I've came back to watching wrestling. It used to be like I used to like it almost as much as Japanese wrestling. So,
and we have it looks like one of your Twitch.tv/ Freemz followers. Roosh makes more sense for Andrade than the family office thing. 100%. Roosh, the presentation that Roosh brings, just that one segment, Andrade looked better than he did in his whole run since 2021 when he came to AEW. So I'm all for it, especially if you can bring out some of the history that he had in CMLL. I'm all about it. And we also have the straight to YouTube stuff doesn't make sense. There's not many companies that push their content on YouTube other than AEW own stuff and maybe NWA. You're right. But for me, it's not about her getting exposure. It's about getting the reps in the ring and making sure she's working in front of an audience. So that was really my take on Mercedes. I think she needs to be on TV weekly. When ROH kicks off, I don't want her buried on YouTube because she's the women's champion. I want to make sure she's on in a signature spot. But I want to make sure she's working because of the lack of house shows, the lack of live events, or whatever you want to call it. She can't be sitting and working every 4 weeks. It's just not conducive to being successful, really. So any final thoughts on Rush? I know you said that you haven't really watched a lot of them, but he's ready to go to Ring of Honor. I think once they start, he's there.
Absolutely. I've watched a lot of them over the last 2 weeks, like going back and watching old matches and stuff. Yeah, I think he's a good fit for it. I mean, he's been there. He knows the culture there. They just need guys there that know the culture so they can keep the culture. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. And I think Rush and Andrade and also Bandito, if they're in Ring of Honor under Tony Khan's new Ring of Honor, it could have a really different feel, those guys being at the top of the card than AEW. And I think that's sort of what you want to establish. You want the promotions to feel a little bit different. Yeah, whether it be presentation on TV, whether it be the roster, you want it to feel like it's a different world. And that's hard to distinguish. I mean, you have to do more than changing the ring pads and changing the ropes. It has to be presentation of the product. But if you want some good Rush matches to watch, go back and watch his 2019 run in AAA. I thought he did a really good job. He returned to Triple Mania. So check out his little run there. But of course, his Ring of Honor run too. You can go back and watch his matches as champion. That was an era of Ring of Honor that we talked about that seems to be forgotten a little bit, like 2021, 2019. It's a weird era of like Ring of Honor.
Well, it's all washed out by Bullet Club. Like the only thing people remember from that era is Bullet Club, Briscoes, and that's about it.
That's a very good point. And then obviously Cody's run there kind of overshadowed. Yeah, very good point. But Ring of Honor, the old regime, thought enough of Rush to put the title on him. And I think Tony Khan wants to keep in that vein, but he's also super talented. It also brings a different feel to the product. So I'm here for it. I love it. Great to see him there. And it's twofold. It's good for Andrade as well. I'm going to repeat that as well. Being good for Andrade because Andrade's been lost in the fold. I would take both of them in the main event of Ring of Honor any day of the week. Just some quick hits here. Just from Ring of Honor alum. We have Homicide, who is right now the NWA junior heavyweight champion. He defeated Colby Corino to retain his title. This was on NWA Power. Just letting you know that Homicide's out there, hanging out there. Maybe a return to Ring of Honor would be something that Tony Khan looks into. I'm not sure if he has a place on the new roster, but he is a legend of Ring of Honor, so I want to keep up with him as well, especially when we don't have a weekly TV show. So if you're a Ring of Honor alum, we're going to talk about you. Any thoughts on Homicide potentially having a spot on a new Ring of Honor, maybe as like an alum legend?
Well, Ring of Honor historically has worked with NWA as well, so
true.
We'll at least see him on the show if they have one.
Absolutely, and I think there's gonna be days where they pay homage to different legends, and they have the Hall of Fame that they kicked off, and we saw Punk and Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson going, but there's going to be room for some other guys to go in. Like we talked about, Low Key didn't get the nod that first little group, and he's the first Ring of Honor champion.
They probably both should have gotten.
Yeah, both of those guys should probably be in there. So time and place, maybe you don't want them to be overshadowed by other big names, but you have to imagine that Homicide, who's still working frequently in NWA, might have his day, whether it be full-time or not in Ring of Honor. It'd be really cool to see. So speaking of other Ring of Honor alum, not full-time, but we saw him at Supercard of Honor, who lost his title to Minoru Suzuki. Tom Latimer defeated Rhett Titus. So just talking about it, we know that Titus is a longtime roster member of Ring of Honor. He came out with a mask too, which didn't really fit his character. So I'm not sure if they're trying to do something different with him. If ROH doesn't end up bringing him in, I think he's going to have to really do a complete refresh and figure out what he's doing, because he was really resting on the laurels of being part of Ring of Honor as that guy who's just on the roster. And I don't think he really had a good, I don't know, especially this match. I went back and watched it. Didn't feel like he knew what he was going for. The mask felt awkward. The match felt awkward. He got the loss here. It seems like he's in this weird funk that I don't think we're going to see him get involved in the current Ring of Honor. I really don't.
Yeah.
So that's just Rhett Titus letting you know there. Some other Ring of Honor alum. We have Matt Taven teaming with Mike Bennett against Heath and Rhino on Impact. Just making you guys aware. So they are involved with the Briscoes as well in this little three-way feud in Impact. Not really following Impact a lot, but following Matt Taven, who had a nice spot in Ring of Honor history, and of course the Briscoes are involved in that. So I'm always going to keep an eye on that. So do you have any good memories of Matt Taven, Freemz?
And Matt Taven, I'm pretty sure, used to be one of the head trainers for Ring of Honor, the dojo. Former Ring of Honor world champion.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty phenomenal. Let me second check that. Could have swore he was like around the early 2010s was a trainer there. But yeah, I love Matt Taven.
So this match, while you're looking that up, this is building towards potentially a match at Slammiversary with the Briscoes for the Impact Tag Team Championships. So we're not sure who's going to be number one contender, but Mike Bennett and Matt Taven are facing off Heath and Rhino, and then the winner will face the Briscoes at Slammiversary. So a lot of Ring of Honor ties to this match. We have Matt Taven and the Briscoes involved. I think the Briscoes have a place on Impact right now, but as the Chads say all the time, they need to be on national television. I think, especially Ring of Honor, once it gets going, someone has to have the courage to put them out there and put them in a spotlight because they deserve it. And I think that they are a crucial point of bringing Ring of Honor television to people that need to see what Ring of Honor is about. I think the Briscoes represent everything you want to see in a Ring of Honor product.
I can't find anything about him being a trainer, so I might be wrong on that. But yeah, great. Winning the title, the TV title, gets Matt Hardy and Adam Cole. That's a big one. And then he had a really hell of a good match with Tommaso Ciampa, which he lost, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for the television title as well.
Yeah, so he's been involved. He was like in that kind of a couple of years before Roosh and that whole run, but he had a big spot on the card. Like you said, former heavyweight champion. And if he was a trainer, if not, he's helping the young talent in the back and making sure that putting matches together. So any guys you can get that have been familiar with what Ring of Honor was and what worked in Ring of Honor, I'm sure Tony Khan is poking around in all those places. And it's cool to see guys like Matt Taven still working. And I know people don't give a lot of love to Impact. There's no show here on the Tavern about Impact. But sometimes it's worth checking out when the talent is right. When the Briscoes are on your television, they're worth checking out. And that's when I turn Impact on because, I'm a wrestling junkie. I want to see everything that's going on.
There's a lot of good talent over at Impact. I should probably give it another go.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just one of those things where right now we're inundated with quality wrestling. They kind of Impact falls to the wayside, but that's not to say that what they're doing isn't good.
Why does it fall to the wayside though? I don't understand. Cause looking at like Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven, they got tons of talent. Former, and that's valid to say because a lot of these guys are former ROH dudes. You have PCO, you have Mike Bennett. Yeah, tons of talent over there.
I think what they're doing is quality, and I think they're overcoming what was wrong with the product for a while. And it might be presentation on TV of being able to find it, like the fact that it's not just on like a landmark cable television channel like a TBS or a Fox or a TNT. So that's a problem as well. But I think they're also overcoming the fact of their reputation from the past. They feel, people, when you talk about Impact, there's a joke about what Impact used to be, and it's not that anymore. But they're overcoming that image of the Dixie Carter era where it felt like a joke, So I think that's part of the reason, and it's got to play a part of it, right?
Absolutely. Even I don't watch it though, and I should, but
yeah, I mean the same thing can be said about NWA Power. Like I love the product there, but something has to give. There's only so many hours in the day that you can dedicate to wrestling, and something falls off. And with AEW being at the premier top, it was easier to consume Impact and NWA when AEW wasn't around.
Yeah,
or consuming New Japan and AAA when AEW wasn't around. But now I'm getting that technical fix with my Bryan Danielson on TV. I don't have to go out and watch Kenny Omega on New Japan World. That's where we're at now. So,
and indie wrestling is just so much easier to watch now.
True. We got another comment in here. I'm still disappointed that Impact pushes things that talent doesn't want to push. Like there's a relationship. Oh, let's push a wedding, or someone is working on Karate Man gimmick. Let's ruin it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched enough of the current Impact product aside from like matches here and there, like when the Briscoes are wrestling. But you're right. From what I see, there's still some of the same old stuff going on in Impact. And yeah, they're still around. And I know people want to give them some love because they survived this. Like they probably should be out of business for what happened with the Dixie Carter era and what they invested in some talent that were washed up. Like, I mean, some of that stuff was really bad. Like when Hogan came back to Impact and Flair and Foley were wrestling, some of that stuff was really bad. I think now they're fitting into the wrestling world where they want to be. And I think they're probably a little relieved that like an AEW exists because they don't have to be that number two, the de facto number two anymore, because they never could handle it. Now they could just be that really small fish delivering in this like obscure market and living up to who they are. So, you know, I think Impact does a lot of good stuff. And I think at some point, every company has a lot of good wrestling. You have to just look for it. But to consume that product on a daily basis, to be the only wrestling you watch, I don't know if there's any fans out there that are just strictly Impact fans. Like, I mean, if you exist, let us know. So we also had Hook and Danhausen in action, Double or Nothing in the buy-in. They defeated Tony East and Smart Mark Sterling. The reason I bring this up is Danhausen. So he got his start here in Ring of Honor. We saw a really awesome side of him, more so than the comedy act we're seeing here, mostly being not enhancement talent, but more of this like comedy relief act. And a lot of the people that haven't seen his Ring of Honor run don't really know the darker side character that you can get with Danhausen with the teeth and the darker makeup. I'm curious on your side, do you feel like Danhausen has a place in Ring of Honor, and do you want to see a more serious Danhausen in Ring of Honor?
I don't think we're ever going to see a more serious Danhausen at this point. He's so over. So over. Welcome.
We're joined by Steve. What's up, dude? How are you?
Good. What's happening, fellas? How's it going?
Not much. We're happy to see you. I just got done listening to the flagship earlier today, so I can't wait to get more of my sneak fix.
Oh, well, I'm here for it, man. It was I had some technical difficulties this evening, but we're back. We're back and going.
Well, we've been going through the news, and I'll get to the bigger story after we're done with the news to get your take on it for the biggest story we've gotten so far. Just ask Freemz about it. Danhausen's super over right now in AEW. Got one of the biggest pops at Double or Nothing, but his character in Ring of Honor was much different, to say the least. He was a darker version of himself. He got his start. He got his stardom from Ring of Honor. Signed a big deal with them, and in the Ring of Honor world, it was a big deal. Got the tequila thing over, all that stuff. Do you think there's a spot in Ring of Honor right now for a serious Danhausen, or do you think he's going to just glide with this comedy gimmick and do what he's doing now in AEW?
As of right now, man, I think what he's doing right now is where he's at. I think this is where he's going to stay for a while. He's in a good spot for what he offers right now. I think I think he's good where he's at right now.
Yeah. And he's an okay wrestler. He's not like a phenomenal wrestler, though.
Right.
And to be fair, and I've never really been bought in 100% on Danhausen anyway. I've always felt like he was more of an Impact wrestler. And I thought he fit well, more so in the Impact system than he did with AEW or Ring of Honor. But it has worked. I know I was very critical of Hookhausen when it first started, but it is what it is, and it's fun to watch. But I think he's good. I think he's good where he is right now.
Yeah, I know that people are clamoring for another run in Ring of Honor when it gets started because we saw that darker side again, carrying the teeth and being this Heath Ledger Joker character. And like, if you watch some of that other stuff, he could go in the ring. Like Freemz said, he's not the best worker in the world. So
yeah,
in AEW, he's probably middle of the pack, if we're being honest. But he's definitely pretty efficient in the ring. He can go out there and do some stuff. He hasn't really gone all out, especially since his fractured tibia and whatever he had going on with that broken leg. But
he's good. I mean, he's good for what he is and what he does. He's great because he's gonna get the kid crowd in there. He's gonna draw the pop. People's gonna watch for him. It's fun to watch. I know he was at a local indie event here. He headlined a local indie event here, and it was absolutely packed for Danhausen.
Yeah.
And he came out and he did his tequila bit. He had his jar of teeth. It was fun.
So we have a comment again in here. So I'd want to see a Danhausen versus Orange Cassidy match. Make one of them either try something new or really celebrate that silly wrestling. If they could bring in someone like Eddie Kingston to elevate a real story, one of them, not hide them, either of them, in a tag team with best friends. Yeah, I mean, I think both of those guys, I mean, we see Orange Cassidy can go and when he needs to, but both of them sort of have their, this is the money roll for them at this point. They can just continue to do what they're doing. Danhausen has no reason to change. He was grinding on the indies and got signed and recognized by Ring of Honor, and pretty much being injured got signed to AEW. Just shows how over he is and the character work he did on social media. He's very toyetic. He already has an action figure that's coming out later this year. Yeah, I think he's a good ambassador for the brand.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is even if he was just an ambassador for them and didn't do anything in the ring, he's still doing he'll do a phenomenal job at that.
Yeah, in AEW, the booking's been confusing, especially someone familiar with his Ring of Honor work. He became more of the goofier character on social media when he was injured. And he's always done the very nice, very evil stuff, but some of the very evil stuff was very evil. Like, he actually had an evil side to him where it felt, but like I said, if it's making money at this point, like, they're not doing anything wrong. The music hits, people pop for it. They're coming out with merchandise. The shirts, I mean, he's one of the best selling t-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, so they're doing something right.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on here, and this is Ring of Honor related because, of course, we have our FTR Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, and Punk and FTR have been teasing trios tagging up. And I'm going to show the tweet right here. So Punk had said, just give us the strap so we don't have to hurt your faves. So I'm going to pull up the bigger picture of them in the ring. So we see that the trio of them, Punk, obviously lineage, and we're going to talk all about Summer Punk when we get to honorable mentions. FTR, just initial thoughts on them being in the trios division, challenging for those titles somewhere down the line. Freemz, are you here for that, or do you want to see Punk just go off on his own and get away from FTR?
Nah, fuck that. I love it. I love Punk with FTR. And that, especially after watching that match yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm for it. I'm all for it.
Steen, are you liking this FTR stuff with Punk, or are you feeling like they should go their separate ways and put more attention on their singles or their singular programs?
I think right now it's fun. I don't think it's something that's going to have longevity. They're not going to be a team. I don't think it's going to be something that's sustainable for a long time, but it's fun. They're both great. I wouldn't be mad if they did this just to get Bret Hart out there for an appearance.
Yeah.
I could see them do this. You might disagree with me, Steve. I don't know what you meant by longevity. I could see them doing this for like a whole year, even
with Punk as champ.
Not with Punk as champ, though. It'd have to be like after he drops that title.
Yeah, that's mainly what I'm saying. Like the longevity right now with him being champ, I don't see it. I can 100% see longevity with the three of them if that's what they're mainly focused on.
Yeah, I could see them doing like a whole program going for trios titles.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah,
it would be very interesting to watch, and we know the tie between them is Ring of Honor. It really is, because obviously Punk, the legend that began with Punk, started in Ring of Honor. FTR is aspiring to be carrying on the tradition of what Ring of Honor was. Obviously, the tag team champions. So I think they fit really well together. And like you said, Freemz, I think that match that they had to open Dynamite, that was awesome, man. Like they really gel really well together. I know Punk is getting a little bit of but criticism, I should say, for not being as smooth as FTR is in the ring. But who's as smooth as FTR is in the ring? Like they're on a different level right now. And Punk's having the time of his life, man. He's even when he botches, he looks at the camera and he laughs. Like, he's loving what he's doing. That's all you can ask for. Punk's having a good time wrestling.
I still feel like Punk's being, and I mean, it's obviously going to happen. I don't say anyone can disagree with it, but he's being watched under a microscope.
True.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. He clipped the top rope with his left boot, and everybody, the whole internet, the IWC went nuts saying
I've seen so many more. You can find botches like that every episode of Dynamite or WWE.
It's everywhere. And we talked about it on the flagship, like, and I think Chad said it, like, I don't want to see this choreographed, just smooth spot spot monkey match. Like, I don't want to see
wrestling,
that.
not ballet.
Exactly. This is wrestling, man. Like, you're gonna trip, you're gonna fall. That's what the fuck it is, man.
No one talks. Never mind.
I think a lot of what people, the adjustment is just adjusting what the title matches look like, because Hangman and Kenny Omega had a certain aesthetic to what the matches look like. Doesn't mean that every world champion has to wrestle like them, but I think it's an adjustment for fans to be like, all right, there is a different type of style. It doesn't mean it's a bad style. It doesn't mean the match is bad, but it's not going to be the same as what Hangman brings to the table. It's a different style of wrestling, and they're both good. Like, they're both good in different ways, and Punk can adapt. And I think over time, Punk will have his endurance back. I think he's just still getting his legs under him. I really do.
I feel like another important thing I brought up yesterday too is that's like the first time they've wrestled, really.
True.
Like, he doesn't have like a lot of time with Hangman. Like, a lot of these classic matches were cut the shit, Tony. A lot of the classic matches that we talk about, these guys have wrestled, hours and hours with each other.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate to cut the shit, Tony. It's my least favorite line in AEW right now.
You fucking Mark.
We need a drop for this show. Cut the shit, Tony, I think. Or for the flagship. One of the other.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys ready to move on to the next? It's probably the second biggest news we have here, and it's the Briscoes being addressed by Tony Khan at the media scrum. So I'll show you guys the tweet here. So this is Tony's quote. "I'm not sure when we'll see the Briscoes next, but they are a huge part of Ring of Honor, and I hope to see them again soon." So that's Tony Khan. As we know, it's been widely speculated over the last several months. We are big proponents of bringing the Briscoes on national television, but Warner Media seems to be what's getting in the way of that. Whether they would allow them to be on it due to some of the problematic tweets that have resurfaced over time. We had talked about it. It's in character. It should be let go. There's so many guys working in character. If you took everything at surface value, like MJF, what he's done in character, he would never be allowed on TV either. I mean, he's flipping off kids. Like, it's character work. Let's just set one thing straight. While this statement by Tony Khan, I don't think necessarily answers the question, it seems as though the Briscoes are more favored to be involved in Ring of Honor than not. I think the question was left ambiguous on purpose, so he has room to wiggle out of it if he could. But Sneed, you're the biggest proponent of the Briscoes being involved here. Did this make you feel good, or do you feel just as uneasy about it?
It makes me feel good. I know Tony. I think Tony wants them to be there. I think it's the whole Warner Media thing. I don't think Tony has a problem with them being there. I think Tony wants them to be there.
Warner Media, grow up.
Grow up, bro.
Grow up, Warner Media.
Come on, man.
We saw them work at Supercard of Honor, so they have worked under the Tony umbrella. So there's history there. And, they have right now been signed with Impact Wrestling for a bit, and they're the reigning Impact champion. So they are on television in some capacity. They're getting their reps in. They're representing Ring of Honor, whether they like it or not, on different brands. So I think it's a matter of time before we see them. And Sneed, I know you weren't here in the beginning, and I think we'll just kind of transition to it right now. We saw the news drop about an hour before we went live here on YouTube. According to a report by Fightful, we have Death Before Dishonor taking place in Lowell, Massachusetts on July 23rd, 2022. So we have a Ring of Honor pay-per-view on the calendar here. If you had to put money on it, are the Briscoes appearing there on that night?
I think in some capacity we see him. I do.
Damn. Yeah, but if you had to put money on it, would you?
How much
That's
money?
tough. Yeah, it depends how much money we talking.
Yeah, if we're talking money, I'd put a little bit of money on it. I'd feel confident in putting a solid, I don't know, maybe a $50 bill down on it.
Well, so percentage-wise, like from 0 to 100, how confident are you that they'll be there?
75.
So, all right, that's a fair number. What about you, Freemz?
Damn, how'd you come to a 75 number? I don't know. Yeah, I'd say there's a good chance. I'm because it's not going to be on Warner Media to begin with.
Yeah, I think it's more than 50-50 because Tony wants them to be there, but the Impact thing kind of, what's the deal with them? What's their contract status with them? Do we know that?
Point. We do not. No, not officially. I know they were in the building last night in LA, so they have been meeting, whether it was a celebration of some deal that's come to pass or whether it's just still a wooing process. Who knows? I think I'm going to make a prediction that the Briscoes will be at Forbidden Door in some capacity. I think that they're going to be there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I could see that happening and getting involved, whether it be setting up a rematch with FTR or being involved in some match. I think we're going to see them there.
I'd kind of like to go to the pay-per-view in July.
We were just talking about that. It's not too far, not a far drive. It's Lowell, Massachusetts, right outside Boston. So I'm thinking about doing it. I mean, tickets can't be that crazy. It'd be a nice thing for the Honor Society to be represented there.
I'm debating it. I'm debating going as well.
I think we have about if we drive, it's like a 12-hour drive.
It's not terrible.
It's that's from here to Orlando. So I've done it before.
Yeah. And I mean, card aside, we have the weekend, and we know that Tony Khan's going to put his best foot forward of what it's going to look like. I'm really about it. I think it's really awesome. We have something to look forward to. Finally, we've been on here for 10 weeks talking about and conjecturing what's going to happen with Ring of Honor. What is it going to look like? We don't know. This is something to look forward to. You could circle on the calendar. There's going to be build for it on Dynamite, Rampage, Elevate. We're going to get stuff to build towards. And as Freemz said before you got on here, we're almost guaranteed to get Gresham. We're guaranteed to get FTR. We're guaranteed to get Samoa Joe. We're guaranteed to have all these guys finally in the same place at the same time. Wheeler as well. Good point. So we also had some other quotes here, and thank you guys for participating in the chat. I really appreciate it. Turtle, you're awesome, man. Thank you for always being here. Would you like to see Miro move over to ROH eventually? Freemz, I'll let you handle that one. What do you think?
No.
Sneed?
No, I don't think
it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think, now we don't know what he's going to do as of right now being back in AEW, but him coming back, I don't think they have a plan to move him to Ring of Honor. I don't think he has a place in Ring of Honor.
He just seems like an AEW guy. Like he just seems like to me anyways, I feel like he's an AEW.
Especially if he's still going to be going with the Redeemer character. If he's still going with the Redeemer thing, that's an AEW thing.
Yeah, I would love to see him involved in the world title picture, whether it be in a losing effort against Punk or not. Like, I just want to see him get that rub there. I think the presentation we saw from him last night, that is a main event guy. And I think WWE missed the boat with the Rusev Day thing. He was the most over talent in that Rumble. I think Roman won in 2015. That was that year. And Rusev was the most over guy in the whole roster. They should have called an audible and put the Royal Rumble win on him. I still believe he has the ability. He has the charisma. He can get whatever he wants over, and he's believable. The offense looks great. Yeah. I think AEW has a star in their hands, and I think he's great. I think he could be a huge deal in the main event as long as they do it right, and they have so far. I mean, every time he's in the ring, he looks. Aside from the video game bullshit, the best man thing that sucked, but everything since then, the Redeemer stuff has been awesome.
Yeah, I agree. No pun intended, but he definitely redeemed himself after that whole video game thing.
That's true. Tyson, thank you so much. Happy 2 years to the Turnbuckle Tavern.
Thanks, Tyson.
We have one of the godfathers of the tavern in here right now, Sneed. So thank you guys so much for that. And congrats, and Sneed, congrats on what's been accomplished with the tavern. It's been amazing to be a part of it for the short time I have been. So I just want to say that.
Thanks, man. It's kind of hard to believe it's been 2 years. And honestly, it wouldn't be where it is if it weren't for you guys too. But 104 episodes, that it's just wild to think that every Wednesday for 104 weeks we've done this.
So much fun. Freemz, what were you going to say before? I'm sorry.
I was about to make a shitty joke. I was about to say what I really want to happen is them to bring over CJ Perry and have Rusev Miro feud with Sammy and Ty.
Oh
man, your wish could come true, man. That's like, who knows? Maybe we'll see Britt Baker, Adam Cole, and we'll see Ty Conti and Sammy, and we'll see Miro and CJ. And
let's just do.
And then at the end of the match, we get a big shocker. Charlotte Flair shows up with Andrade.
Let's just do. We should have a couples. Let's add a new belt to it.
Yeah, the couples title.
Couples title. Yeah, just change the Owen Hart titles to the couples title, I guess. Right?
Do the couples title. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, last thing on the news.
You can have Anna Jay and Jungle Boy too.
True, yeah, we got a whole roster. We talked about the trios division being stacked. What about the couples division, AEW?
That roster be fucking.
it do be.
Do be. All right, so last piece of the news here before we move into top honors. It is Forbidden Door teased last night again with the promo with FTR. The ROH tag titles potentially on the line. FTR defending against Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan. Now that we have the Death Before Dishonor news, Freemz, do you think we get this at Forbidden Door, or do we wait another month and wait for Death Before Dishonor to have this payoff? Or payoff. It's not even been a story. It's just one segment.
I feel like it's hard to say. I want to see it either way. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be Forbidden Door.
I agree.
I would say Forbidden Door. I can see it maybe spilling over and something happening for the Death Before Dishonor, but I think this is definitely. I would almost put 100% that we're going to get FTR and we're going to get that match at Forbidden Door.
It really just depends on what they're doing with Jeff Cobb, because if Jeff Cobb's full time in ROH, what's his deal with New Japan? Like, I don't know the details of that, but I think it's more of a Forbidden Door type of match because you got AEW talent versus New Japan talent. No matter what the titles are on, it's more of that. I'd rather see the ROH tag titles on the line with potentially, I don't know, maybe Tully Blanchard Enterprises with Khan and all those guys. Yeah. Or we'll see something more Ring of Honor centric than Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan, who are New Japan guys through and through.
Yeah, I mean, Khan's going to be on both shows, though, I think, regardless.
Yeah.
I think we'll see Tully Blanchard Enterprises at Death Before Dishonor.
Mm-hmm.
Who is somebody not being used currently in AEW that you would want to see in ROH? That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Jamie Hayter.
It's an interesting pick. I can see that.
I would love to see House of Black go over to Ring of Honor. If they're not going to use him in AEW, put him in Ring of Honor. Let them just do their thing there. But you have to promise that you give him a main event run and give him a weekly spot every time on TV.
I could see them filling that void that Marty Scurll and Villain Enterprises left.
I was going to say House of Black. That was going to be my pick. Freemz, what were you going to say about Jamie Hayter?
I just said I love her, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie Hayter would be great. And I think she really impressed on Dynamite this week, teaming with Britt Baker. That was a great match. Yeah, I mean, the Ring of Honor women's division right now is anchored by Mercedes Martinez, who we were talking about all night, talking about how she's getting her reps in. She looks good. She's defending the title. If really she's been sort of the Iron Woman of Ring of Honor right now, because everybody else is sort of doing their own thing. Like Samoa Joe's involved in AEW stuff. FTR is involved in AEW stuff. And John Gresham is MIA right now, recovering from injury, really sort of carrying that banner across the land. And AEW Dark and Elevation may not feel like it is a big platform, but Mercedes Martinez is out there weekly doing her damn thing with the ROH women's title.
Yeah.
So we have the comments are blowing up in here. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm sticking with Alex Reynolds being able to do a huge Ring of Honor push. Yeah, I mean, why not? The only thing you risk of is if you take a guy who was a mid-carder, tag team guy, lower card guy, and bring him to Ring of Honor and make him a main event, it feels like, all right, Ring of Honor is lesser than. Like, if you want to be a main eventer.
I feel like you can do that with, like, a few people, though. There's, like, a few AEW people that could come over that they're not being used a lot. That could come over, like Jamie Hayter, for example, House of Black, for example. It wouldn't look like they're going to be, like, obviously they're not sending them over to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Trained or
developmental.
Yeah, developmental. Yeah,
developed. Man, you know who I'd really like to see? It's not ever going to happen because I feel like he's already over in AEW. Ricky Starks, man. Just love that dude.
Yeah, same, man. I made a prediction last week on the AEW wrap-up show that I think this time next year he'll be involved in the world title picture in some capacity. I don't think he'll be champion, but I think he's going to be hovering around that area. He's undeniable. I think his charisma and his in-ring ability, he's always going to rise to the top. And how far he's risen in AEW since that TNT Open Challenge match with Cody, from then until now, it's remarkable how much he's accomplished in that short period of time. I'm talking about a guy who really made something out of nothing. He had just a small little sliver in the door, and he bust that shit wide open. He's in AEW. He's in trenches. I love seeing him on my TV every week.
Before the pandemic with NWA, he was killing it on the with the TV title over there.
You know what? I changed my pick. Hayter's still my woman's pick, but Powerhouse Hobbs, man.
I love Hobbs.
I could see him having a really good program over in Ring of Honor. Could you imagine a Gresham Hobbs program?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be great.
Oh,
yeah.
And he's got the CM Punk stamp of approval too, you know, like, yeah.
Here's another quote here and a comment. This is what we want to avoid, right? What I'd really hate is if they use ROH just to push someone like Angelico, which I could see them doing. Yeah, like I don't want to see that at all. No way. I don't want to see them like, all right, Angelico in the main event. Then you're gonna really like we won't be doing the show weekly if that's happening. I tell you right now, we're gonna have to shift this to the Impact Society and talk about that instead. Because at least the Briscoes are there.
Angelico.
Yeah, I agreed.
Hey, I like Angelico back in Lucha Underground, but
Powerhouse.
God, that scared the fuck out of me.
But I agree, dude. Powerhouse Hobbs, and I think the distinction you can make between Powerhouse and say Alex Reynolds is Powerhouse isn't on weekly, but when he is, he's booked strong. You know what I mean? They have protected Hobbs to the point where even against Punk at Grand Slam, he took him to the limit. He looked good. Punk got the win, but Hobbs still looked strong against a guy who is really the cream of the crop in your company.
Yeah. They didn't book him like Wardlow.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that another time. I went off on the AEW Rapper show about Wardlow, but we're still talking about Honor Society. Let's move into top honors and talk about what we liked about the ROH presentation this week.
Top honors.
All right, so during this segment, we'll just talk about what we liked. And when we get a TV deal or when we have a pay-per-view, we'll talk about our favorite match or moment. But we'll start with you, Sneed. What was your favorite thing that came out of ROH this week, whether it be ROH talent or news that popped out?
I think it's just the news. I think Tony addressing the Briscoes, and now today knowing that we're going to get another pay-per-view. That's huge for, the matches or whatever we have. That's good because it keeps Ring of Honor fresh, but the news of knowing that we're getting something new, that's hands down my favorite thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. What about you, Freemz? Are you agreeing with that, or do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, it's I can't disagree with it. I mean, it's mine would have been the Briscoes, and then now it's Death Before Dishonor.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
It's exciting all around. I mean, because I do like that they're keeping everything fresh by giving us matches. Pushing Samoa Joe so far in the Owen tournament, keeping having the ROH storyline. Because we did have Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt jump hit. We saw on yesterday the footage of them jumping him. Just continuing that a little bit. I like the cheese that we're getting for it right now, but the news, I think. The pay-per-view.
Yeah, as we said, Death Before Dishonor will be, let me go back to the date to get it right for you guys, will be July 23rd, 2022 in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Yep.
This is their longest reigning event that they've had. We've seen every year from 2003 on, aside from 2020, having a Death Before Dishonor. A lot of matches we've recommended during honorable mentions have been from Death Before Dishonor. The event has a lot of history. Legends have competed on that event. I'm curious to see what the logo will look like. This is the logo that we had from the last event. Maybe it'll be something like it. We'll see the new ROH logo on it, but I'm curious to see all the branding. It's just nice to look forward to because you can book towards it. And I think what they've done so far and what they've done well, and I agree with you guys, that's my top honor, is the ROH talent has continued to look strong. They haven't really sacrificed any of those guys. I know John Gresham hasn't been on TV, but when he has, he's looked strong. He main evented Battle of the Belts. Samoa Joe continues to look like a badass, aside from losing to Samoa Joe, but he was hurt. So they are protecting those guys, and they feel like they're on at least a level playing field for now with the AEW guys, and I think that's important to establish.
Can I just say off topic right now that Freemz he's got that golden hour sun-kissed look going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's angelic right now. Let's see if I can get him big over here. Nope, that's just me. Oh, no. Oh, well, I can't get it for some reason, but
it's always sunny for a legend. All right.
The light shines up on you, man.
It's angelic. It's Angelico. That's what it is.
Listen, I'm a degenerate. My setup isn't made for daytime. So
the sunlight fits well, man. It looks good on you.
You guys ready to move into the highlight of what I think the show right now? Get into honorable mention, talking about 2005 Summer of Punk. Freemz, you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. All right, so honorable mentions usually is where we recommend one match each for you guys to check out and assign you guys some homework to check out some old ROH. But with CM Punk winning the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing this year, or I should say this weekend, we're going to go over and talk about the matches from the first ever Summer of Punk that went down all the way back in 2005. So I'm going to go through the timeline of it, but Freemz, just give me your initial thoughts. You don't have to go play by play with it, but how do you think the Summer of Punk in 2005 holds up against the 2011 Summer of Punk, and then what you're going to expect from 2022 Summer of Punk?
So the way because there's been technically 3 Summer of Punks, right? There's Summer of Punk 1, 2, and 3.
Are we moving into the third right now with 2022? Or am I mistaken?
Well, he held the title for 435 days. He held it for 2 summers.
Oh, that is true. You're correct.
So they consider that also Summer of Punk. I consider it 1, but some people say that's 3. Summer of Punk 1 was great. Here's the difference, though. It was short-lived, and you were watching it DVD to DVD, which, but at the same time, I hadn't seen anything like it before. Like, it's one of those things that, like, is a game changer. Like Scott Hall showing up on Nitro or, things like that. It was a game changer. You felt like you were watching history. CM Punk winning the title, which was huge to begin with against Austin Aries. Because going into that, I didn't think CM Punk was going to win it because he had already announced that he was going to WWE Developmental. So no one expected it. And then for him to win it, I popped hard for it. But then afterwards, he comes back out and gives the big promo. And even that was iconic. I didn't even hate Punk then, but a lot of people, if you listen to the crowd during that promo, it's just epic. The shit that they're yelling.
A young Ace is in that crowd when he signs the contract on top of the Ring of Honor belt. That's on Long Island, New York. And, man, I remember that distinctly. It was kind of blurred the lines. I was a 14-year-old kid, but it really blurred the lines for me. Like, I couldn't believe what was happening. Yeah,
it's pretty wild. But the big difference is whenever he was, doing the WWE one, you were watching it every week, which is also kind of nice as well, right? But it's just something different about it, like it being in the Indies and feeling that big.
Yeah, so let's go through the full run. And the title reign he had, believe it or not, lasted 55 days. To me, it was an incredible run for, I think people will argue this is the best Punk you can probably find in his whole career. And people can argue there's been great iterations of Punk, whether it be Straight Edge Society, the second Summer of Punk, even, disgruntled Punk, all that. To think it started all those many years ago, it's even crazier to think it's one of Ring of Honor's best runs ever. But I'm going to go through how it started and how it ended. So I'll let you just kind of take the lead as we're talking, Freemz.
Yeah, I do want to add that. I do think it's the greatest ROH storyline ever.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that, especially looking back now, because it's influenced other storylines. We're looking at right now in real time, MJF stuff going on. It's blurring the reality of what's going on and who's leaving and all that. But this started June 18th, 2005, and CM Punk defeated Austin Aries to become the new ROH World Champion at Death Before Dishonor. With the world knowing CM Punk was on his way out, he got an opportunity, as Freemz alluded to win the championship one more time. Everybody expected him to lose, and it was a title he had been chasing his whole ROH career, so people just probably thought he was going to not win. It was going to come up short because he's leaving the company, and he won. And it was his only time he won the ROH World Championship. The crowd broke out into a frenzy. On the final 3 count, they were chanting CM Punk, "Thank you, Punk. Please don't go. We will miss you." A whole bunch of stuff, thinking it was like the final swan song. He was going to just leave ROH with the title and just say, hand it to whoever and say, that's it. But that's when things got weird, right, Freemz? So then he started threatening to take the ROH title to WWE, and that really blurred the lines. So I guess take the lead from there.
Yeah, so in the promo, and I'm doing all this just based off of memory. So I remember he talks about being an Impact and how Impact told that they couldn't do Impact in ROH anymore, and has this meeting with AJ and everyone else that was over there at the time.
Right.
This is the first time you really see Punk shit on the fans hard, other than a non-straight edge gimmick.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
usually,
good
if you
point.
shit on the fans, it's like I'm better than you because I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and all this. This was him being like, I'm better than you because I'm CM Punk. Which I don't know. It's probably Punk's best heel work.
Yeah, and the fact that he threatened to leave the company with the title, it wasn't new at the time, but it was different the way it was happening. And it's funny to think about what transpired from then on because it influenced what happened later on in WWE. He almost rewrote exactly what he was doing in 2011 at Money in the Bank. But as you mentioned, he attacked his time in Impact. He was told he could no longer work for ROH, something that his contract did not have in writing, all that stuff. And who knows what was a work, what was a shoot, what he was saying. It's similar to MJF today. He's blurring the lines. So the people started chanting for Joe during that promo, and it got him upset. And he pulled out the contract and signed the WWE contract right on the ROH belt, which people felt like was so disrespectful. He was mocking the place that he said he built as he prepared to move up the ladder in his career. People were shocked at what he was saying, the slander that was being thrown his way. I remember distinctly in the crowd, everyone was saying, "Enjoy the Master Lock Challenge," because that was what was going on at WWE at the time. And little did we know how successful Punk would wind up being in WWE after his ECW run and all that. I would never predicted how successful he was. And it just shows how undeniable he was. And we talk about other guys, but like Punk really grinded his way. And like, he would look like one of those guys that would just be repackaged, sort of like a Raven. When Raven came over to WWE and they put him in tights and like was on Sunday Night Heat, it felt like he was going to get that treatment. But so then he was threatening, and he had the title, and it was a whole thing that was playing out on the dirt sheets and also playing out on results online. Because at the time, you were getting your results on forums, wrestling forums, and it wasn't the same as we have now. There wasn't the social media that you could get instant news, and you were also getting your results from DVDs. You had to like tape trade to get what was happening. So Freemz, I guess, take the lead from there.
Back to what I was talking to you too when he was giving that promo. He talked about how him and Christopher Daniels were the only ones that came back to Ring of Honor, right? Which led to the next match because Christopher Daniels was basically like, I came back and I'm not rubbing anyone's name in the dirt and all this stuff, which led to CM Punk's next match against Christopher Daniels. And everyone thought for sure this is where Punk's going to lose this title because after the contract signing on the belt, internet marks going nuts, being like, yeah, there's no way that they're going to give Punk this championship. Like, they just want to give it to him, ceremoniously and, have this short-lived story. He goes on to have a draw with Christopher Daniels, retaining the championship, which was an epic match, too. Go back and watch it. I love 60-minute draws. I know some people hate them. I wouldn't want them to happen all the time, but
J-Bone loves them. Absolutely loves
J-Bone's got that WWE attention span where it only lasts about 15 minutes, and then they want to go watch cartoons or something.
Wow, shots fired from the honest side of Raw down. So you mentioned Chris Daniels, and like Daniels had been a part of TNA at the time, and he still returned to ROH and had a date with Punk. And he was trying to dethrone him. And like you said, at the time, everyone thought Chris Daniels was taking the title just to be a transition to whoever the next young guy was, whether it be Roderick Strong or Jay Lethal, figuring out another guy who was next.
Another important thing to add is that like Austin Aries then isn't like Austin Aries now. Austin Aries was bigger than Punk at the time.
Yeah.
Probably the most popular over guy in Ring of Honor. Christopher Daniels, also one of the most over dudes in Ring of Honor. Like, these aren't just like, this would be like Roman Reigns going up against, this is for, you WWE brain people, like Lesnar. Like, anyone, like, you don't think he's going to win.
Absolutely. So at the Homecoming was the event that Freemz is referencing. They fought to a 60-minute draw. And it was the first time that looked like Punk was going to lose his championship and fell on his threat of bringing the title to WWE. So it was the first time fans were like, okay, this is when they're pulling the trigger. But this would probably set up his eventual loss of the title, which would only take place a couple weeks later, which would be against James Gibson, which was a weird choice, right? So Freemz, at the time, tell me your thoughts on James Gibson being the one to dethrone Punk. Like, was it about who beat him, or was it like, bring me back to 2005? Like, was James Gibson a guy that felt like he could be world champion then?
I think, yeah, absolutely. The way I feel like WWE by the way, guys, for those of you who don't know, James Gibson is Jamie Noble.
Okay.
Yeah, from good old West Virginia.
Yeah, hometown boy.
Yeah. He was super over in Ring of Honor. He felt like he was going to be a he's not like a new guy there at this point either, I don't think. I think he's like a ROH, like, I don't want to say OG because ROH OGs didn't exist then, really. But yeah, it wasn't a surprise. I felt like it was to help build his stock a little bit more too.
Yeah.
So this event was the ROH Redemption show that he lost the title. So CM Punk had his greatest challenge yet. So they put up the gauntlet against him. He defended the title against three men: James Gibson, Chris Daniels, and Samoa Joe. And they competed in a 4-way elimination match for the title. The finish of the match came when Gibson hit a top rope tiger driver, pinning Punk in the middle of the ring to win the match, to dethrone Punk and save the ROH World Championship. It was an outstanding moment for all, and I'm going to show the picture again with all the guys involved. This was sort of the cap of which was a memorable summer of Punk. And what was really nice of Punk as he leaves the territory, the old school mentality of you're the one to get pinned. They had the out with the elimination match to have someone else do the fall. It was an elimination match, so Punk could have got DQ. They could have did something else to get Punk out of the match. But Punk took like a man in the middle of the ring, right in the middle to the Tiger Driver from James Gibson, and established him as the next guy. So his match was awesome. You should go back and check it out.
Historically, that's what you do on your way out of a company, especially if you're a champion. You put someone over.
Yeah.
And that's the correct way to do it. And I feel like CM Punk cares about that, that history, that culture. So it made sense. I didn't think it was weird. Looking like hindsight, it seems weird as shit, right? James Gibson, because of the career he went on to have. I wouldn't call it a stellar career.
So, I mean, he had his cruiserweight title run 2002, 2003.
Yeah, he had already been through
Right.
He had already been through a bigger promotion. I think people were surprised that what he did in Ring of Honor compared to what they used him for in WWE, because he is a good worker, really good worker. Most cruiserweights back then, especially like post WCW, early WWE, just didn't get the shine that they should have, unless your name was Rey Mysterio.
Right.
Yeah.
So we saw the finale of Summer of Punk come to an end as CM Punk said farewell to Ring of Honor. And despite the fans, he having serious heat with the fans, like that, people reporting the fans literally wanted to fight him in the parking lot. When it came to the final event, they paid their respects. They showered him in, this is the famous picture now of CM Punk with all the streamers around him. And he had a farewell match with Colt Cabana with tears pouring down his eyes. In a best 2 out of 3 falls match. Punk went out on his back as he lost 2-1. And it was after the match that the locker room poured out in support of CM Punk. And he sat in the middle of the ring and just took all the love and adoration. So
I got chill bumps right now thinking about this moment, because I remember this more vividly than I do any other thing that's happened in wrestling. His send off from Ring of Honor. I remember. I don't know if you remember it or not, but
absolutely I do. Yeah,
his theme song didn't play at first. At first, they play "Bouncing Souls." I forget what the name of the song is, but it's like a goodbye song.
Mm-hmm.
And then it switched to the AFI song after the bouncing. See, Colt Cabana is already in the ring at this point.
Yeah. Just
kind of orchestrating the crowd. Crowd's going nuts. CM Punk's crying before he even comes out. It's just epic, man.
It just shows how much Ring of Honor really meant it.
Thinking about it.
It shows how much Ring of Honor meant to CM Punk and still means to him. So I'm sure the fact that Tony Khan purchased it with CM Punk under that AEW umbrella makes you believe that eventually CM Punk will have something to do with Ring of Honor in some capacity, whether it be a one-off or just, I mean, I would love to see him and Colt Cabana wrestle one more time at Ring of Honor. I really would.
It bums me out watching that over and seeing him and Colt Cabana in that ring together, man.
Friends for life, man. That's like Chad and Chad, they were down the road together,
Yeah.
So this was the official end of the Summer of Punk. And while it's shorter than you may remember, the title reign only lasted 55 days. This is known as one of the more incredible runs for any world champion in any promotion. So you could tell that he had true love for what he was doing in Ring of Honor. He felt like he built it. Whether that's true or not, I think it's true. I tend to lean on that. But it was built on the backs of all those. I mean, you could look at the guys in the picture again. I'm going to show you here. I mean, Joe, Punk, Daniels, those guys are even Bryan Danielson, like those guys on AJ Styles. Like there's so many guys that came through those doors from early on until even at the end that really helped keep the company there and be a breeding ground for future world champions, other promotions. Everyone wants to talk about that promo Seth Rollins did on Raw. Guess where he got his start? You know what I mean? Like Seth Rollins as Tyler Black in Ring of Honor, like started to learn the craft and worked with some of the best in the world there in Ring of Honor. And, natural ability plays a part, but also where you kind of hone your craft gets you ready for the next step. And I think, Ring of Honor's legacy, and it's continuing. It's not like this is a eulogy of any part, but the Punk stuff, it really stands the test of time. Going back and doing the research about this and looking at it, it's weird. It was only 55 days. It felt like it was longer. I know because the second one, it was 400 and something days, as you mentioned, as the world champion.
Well, you're getting it on DVD. Like, I think felt like, I think it took, as far as the DVDs went, it was about 3 months.
True.
So, yeah. Also, I keep laughing, and the reason I keep laughing, you guys remember James Gibson's entrance music?
Kinda. It was like a country song, like
"Country Boy Can't Survive." Fucking, I was like, that's such a fucking West Virginia choice.
Yeah,
I just picture
Virginia.
Yeah. I just picture him in a West Virginia bar, and somebody would be like, "Dude, that'd be awesome, dude." Came out the Country Boy Can't Survive.
Hey man, yeah, might get your song.
Yeah, like that's a good one.
That's a good one. Do it.
Ring of Honor 2 doesn't get the love for the music that they included. I know they probably didn't have the rights to it, but either did ECW. Some of the music in Ring of Honor freaking rock. Mazir and Kantar by FI is a all-time badass theme for a guy to come out. And the fact that Punk came out to it at Revolution, I want to talk about goosebumps. That was an awesome moment.
Yeah,
so cool.
Yeah, I definitely so I live streamed it. Well, legally, we did a watch along in my Discord for my Twitch stream, and I was like almost in tears during that. They were making fun of me pretty hard, but because I'm like almost crying and I'm yelling shorts.
Yeah.
So good. But that was a special edition of Honorable Mentions. I want to do stuff like this again. So if you guys have any suggestions about eras of Ring of Honor you want us to go down, this was sort of apropos because of what went on with Punk this weekend.
I already have another idea if you want to get into it after the show.
100%. That's definitely what we should do. But we're going to get into final handshakes, give you guys the final wrap up, and we're going to talk about what's coming up down the pike. All right, guys? All right, here on the final wrap up of the show, just remind you guys, next week's show will be June 9th, which again is Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, here live on YouTube, Twitch, also Facebook and Twitter. We'll talk about all the latest news in Ring of Honor. Maybe we'll get some Death Before Dishonor card matchups, and maybe we'll talk about a TV deal down the line, maybe the Briscoes. We're going to fill in the gaps with the history and talk about some things that, are important to us and fandom. If you haven't watched Ring of Honor, I think understanding the history and what has been accomplished there is a good part of understanding what you're going to be seeing in the new Ring of Honor, because Tony Khan has a knack for following lineage and paying respect to history. So with that being said, Sneed, let's get your stuff in. What's going on in the tavern? Talk about the debate, everything going on here for us.
Yeah, so we have a brand new debate coming out on Monday. It'll have Mike and Tom, Chad, and myself on it. You can find everything at theturnbuckletavern.com. That's pretty much it. And if you're in the West Virginia area, there's a really big indie show on June 11th in Beckley, West Virginia. FTR will be there. So
yeah,
I think that, if you're there,
Enzo and Cass,
Jake Roberts, it's going to be, it's FTR versus the American Wolves. So
awesome.
It's
ROH legends right there too.
Yep.
It's going to be an awesome show. And I'm hoping to get a pick with the ROH tag titles.
That would be amazing. We'll put that in the intro of the show every week. That is much needed. Freemz, what about you? Twitch.tv/Freemz. What's going on? We talked about it in the beginning, but again, reiterate what's going on stream for those that just joined us.
I always should have warned people just so you know. I do cover a lot of leftist politics. There's a lot of humor behind it as well, though, and a lot of degeneracy over there. So if you're into that, come hang out. Send me some money.
Yeah, tip your bartenders, guys, and Freemz is one of them. So you guys, as we mentioned, make sure to like and subscribe to the Turnbuckle Tavern. We continue to give out hours of free content. We did a big boom over the Double or Nothing weekend with Fig Night. Shout out to those dudes, Mike Belcaster in Vegas. Boots to the ground, getting some great exclusive content for the Tavern and making a lot of gains. And shout out to every show, truly. I mean, everyone's making awesome gains. The Raw Down was awesome the other night. Fig Night's always great. The AEW Rap Show, I was lucky enough to be a part of it this week. The Flagship was awesome. You guys, if you're not listening to all the shows on Tavern, you're missing out. This is how you get your news for wrestling, guys. We have an eclectic mix of wrestling fans with different opinions out there having debates, and it's all in good fun, man. So,
and here's all you have to do. All you have to do is follow on YouTube, and you'll get all of the content. You're going to find anything that you want wrestling-wise, you're going to find under the Turnbuckle Tavern's banner. Anything you want.
Yep. And the last shilling I'll do for guys is, go to prowrestlingtees.com/tavern and buy a shirt, Honor Society shirt, the classic look. Buy the Freemz shirt. It's a shout out to the Descendants. It's a great shirt. Wrinkly Brain confirmed. We got the Holler Net because that's our shirt. We always have someone that goes down with Holler Net, even though we didn't have that tonight, which is amazing.
Well, you Holler Netted a few times, but not for like a long period.
All right. Well, see, you know what? Holler Net is still our thing then.
It has to sprinkle itself in, even if it's not going to get
It's
us.
our thing. We're Holler Net here.
What do you mean it didn't affect us? Sneed was like 30 minutes late because he had to fix stuff.
I guess we didn't see it live on air. You're right, 100%. I guess
It wasn't Holler Net.
Oh, okay,
True.
okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, guys, on the Flagship, make sure you call the Tavern. Leave us a voicemail, 304-444-2004, and hear your message played on the Flagship show. We had some really good ones this week. Listen to the Flagship that dropped this morning. A lot of good stuff being said. Get your opinion in, whether you hate me, you love Freemz, whether you love Sneed, whether you hate Sneed. We want your opinion, guys. Let us know how you feel about our opinions. Did you hate my rant about Tanahashi last night in the AEW Rap Show? Maybe. Maybe you think Tanahashi's trash. Maybe you're wrong. Tell me about it on the voicemail. I want to hear what you guys say. We'll play it here, even on Honor Society. We'll play it on here. If you're going to rip on me, we'll play it right here on Honor Society. But we have a lot of news to go through. This is a lot of fun, guys. I always appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out the other shows in the Tavern. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow, Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about WCW Uncensored 1996 with Shot of Nostalgia and Mike Belcaster. So make sure you guys check that out. We also have Turnbuckle Sessions dropping in the morning. So much good stuff, guys. So, thank you guys for joining us. I'm the Ace of the Tavern for Sneed and for twitch.tv/Freemz. We're the Honor Society. And again, make sure you abide by the Code of Honor.